And we're live. So yeah, I mean, thank you both for being here. I know you're probably both very busy men, so
we try.
Thanks for being here. I didn't know. I'll be honest, neither of you two, like who you was, but you got your watch fixed, man.
Yeah,
walk straight in.
It was weird. It's because you operate on appointments based.
Yeah.
And I just, I needed my watch. I think it was tight. I think I needed it one in, and I just phoned you up because you were the nearest jeweller, I think, in Farringdon, and I thought, might as well just try. And then I called you and like, who is this? And I was like, all right, maybe it's a bit weird. So I go up and I get lost. So I have to call you 2 other times after that. I'll be like, well, where's your
bit tucked out?
Where's your place?
Yeah.
And then I guess you fixed my watch, which thank you very much. But it kind of broke anyway. So.
What are you saying about my craftsmanship?
Bad craftsmanship.
It's not to do the bracelet, but it's a very old watch. But anyway, so that's how I came to kind of know you, and then obviously through you, I've come to learn a lot about the sort of the line of business you guys are in. It's pretty weird because I just thought I've never actually thought about how custom jewellery gets made.
Yep.
And then obviously you introduced me to Doug, who I really thought was pretty cool what you do, or at least what I've read you do.
Attempt to do, yes.
Yeah. Just tell us a bit about yourselves and sort of what you guys do.
You go first, Doug.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'll try. So I own and run a few record labels, the main of which is called Finders Keepers. So we're primarily a reissue label. We scour the world looking for sort of unsung musical heroes, sort of largely unknown records, reach out to the artists or the owners, repackage them, put them back out on vinyl, put them up digitally, and that's about it, really. It sounds quite exotic and quite fun, which it is, but when you sort of boil it down, it's quite a sort of simple process.
What about your other labels?
Oh, well, we've got a few. So Twisted Nerve, I don't know if any of you are particularly aware. You're probably a bit too young to say. You ever heard of Powder Drum Boy?
Oh, I feel like I've heard the name before, somewhere in the back of my mind in some little area.
Yeah, it was. He was sort of like at his peak, sort of at the end of the sort of Britpop period. He still makes amazing records. So run a label with him as well, and I'm just about to start a new electronic music label.
Okay.
So dealing with 90s techno, jungle, ambient, acid. Again, sort of the emphasis on physical format still, because that's what's close to my heart. But not forgetting this new thing called MP3s, digital, that seems to be cool with the kids.
Whatever that means.
You're still running like a 90s iPod.
I do, yeah. I get a lot of grief. I've got a Walkman, it's an MP3 Walkman, but
all right.
All the kids from hockey. Simon and I also happened to play. We met actually playing cricket.
Wow.
In Blackheath in South East London, and then we've both since joined the same hockey club.
Stupidly joined the hockey club. Destroys my body.
So yeah,
I've heard. Yeah, I mean, hockey. I've heard that it can be a bit of a rough sport to play, can't it? But if you enjoy it,
not really.
If you're coming of roughy toughies like us,
played rougher sports.
Well, yeah.
But
I've started doing that recently. I decided to sign up for a half marathon. I thought, it'd be easy to do this, but I got like 2 weeks in. I thought, dying it.
Yeah.
Sort of ever played any sport really outside of school?
Yeah, I mean, I know. Obviously, when you're like 14, 15, you've got like cross country running. I think it's primary school. Like every lad does cross country running, don't they? And I thought, it'll be fine.
20 minutes once a week.
And then it was like, now let's run 13 mile. And just see how far we can go. I thought this is killing me.
I skived off early from cross country running. There was a little like secret, well not so secret, but you get to the end way quicker at school, and you cut behind the corner shops and stuff. We just do that. Go home.
I assume you're a bit trimmer back in those days, because no one's going to think you're ahead of the herd,
mate.
Well, I mean, have you seen him?
It's
become a bit of my addiction at this point as a man, and he's running the entire length of Africa. He's going from
What for?
the bottom just for charity and to break the
right,
world
that's
record because
crazy.
nobody's ever done it. And he's doing. First, he was like, "Yeah, I'm going to do a marathon a day, no rest days." And then he's like, "No, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling better." Now he's doing like 60k a day, which is what 45 mile every day. It's
Whoa.
insane. Like he's just. I think he's got to get through something like 13 countries or something.
He's going to get through his knees and hips.
Like you look at it, but it's like it just doesn't seem like he's bothered at all.
Yeah.
It's like insane. But it's all like I think he had to stop recently because he got like robbed at gunpoint basically. But like you just see it every
That'd make
day.
you run quicker, surely.
Chase him down the road.
Not if they take your trainers.
Well, there's that. No, see, I can't deal with that kind of sport. To me, that's not necessarily sport. And I don't mean to be dismissive, but I prefer sort of team activities and sort of the competitiveness, and quite like shouting at people as well. So
Yeah, you're good at that. Yeah.
So what you're not a big fan of the Tour de France then?
I'd say I can enjoy
Be-
it.
that's
But,
That's it. Have you seen the documentary on Netflix about it?
no,
Yeah.
I've-
What? Oh no, I'm thinking of
Lance
the one
Armstrong
about the
one.
doping.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's what I was thinking of.
Icarus. Is that
Yeah,
what it is?
one of our my customers had a lot to do with that. That's what I
Oh,
thought you were
right.
going to talk about.
That was mad how that. Because they use sealed bottles, didn't they? Where you had to like basically break the bottle to get the
Yeah.
blood out, and like I think it was some Russian scientist who
Oh,
worked
yeah.
out a way to break the bottle without breaking it, and they was like just transfusing all the blood and everything.
Yeah.
We have a friend, Coney, who's quite into his biking, and he was explaining to us how they take sort of really highly oxygenated blood from the cyclists and then sort of transfuse it back into them at higher altitudes to help
Wow.
them get around. So I guess it's sort of a fine line between what's permissible and what's not.
Just
you know?
ride a push bike.
Yeah, pretty much. Go downhill all the way. Whee!
Not that difficult, is it?
So yeah, that's how we met. Was from sport at
Wow.
playing cricket together. Yeah, we were at the same club for a little while, and it took us a couple of years to work out that we were into the same kind of music, didn't it?
Yeah, that's how we bonded up.
Yeah, music.
absolutely.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So I mean, how long have you been in Farringdon around then? Because obviously by your accent, you're not.
So
You're not
yeah,
from here
Yeah.
originally, are you?
I'm from Melbourne, so I've been in
Nice.
England.
Whereabouts
for-
in Melbourne?
down on the Mornington Peninsula, a lovely little town called Frankston.
Yeah, my cousins lived there for 5 years
Oh, right, what in Frankston?
in Frankston.
Wow.
So
Were
I
they
went.
addicted to heroin? Because it's
I'll ask them. I'll see
it
what they
was
say.
awful when I lived there. It was
Yeah, I went over there one year for a month, I think, but I think it was like in around April, so it wasn't like scorching heat
No,
where
it
you was
would've been
dying like. but
autumn, nice
Yeah,
weather.
it's
Yeah,
calm and relaxed, but I didn't see no heroin addicts when I was around it. Or,
Yeah, it was
well,
big
I was about
time.
14, so probably
Oh,
wasn't
right,
paying
you
that much
probably didn't
attention.
notice, yeah. No, it was big time when I was there. It was ravaged by heroin. Not a very nice place, but I haven't been back for ages. But I've been here since 2002, so a long time, and worked around in the industry. Well, ever since I've been here, and it's all I've ever done. I haven't done any other adult jobs. Yeah, did an apprenticeship and stuff. So
Yeah, so
yeah.
what? I was born in 2001, so you've nearly worked there longer than
Well, there
I've
you
been
go.
alive. Like,
Yeah,
I was
I've
born
lapped you. I've
I
lapped
was
you.
born in 2003, so you've been here
When I
longer.
finish uni.
Yeah. Look at us old bastards.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
no.
It's like an interview with the guys in the Muppet Show. Yeah, that's
Waldorf
an old
and Statler.
reference
Exactly.
as well. You know? Yeah.
But how did you get into the trade you're in now? Is it
By accident.
okay?
So I went to university, and I basically finished high school, didn't know what I wanted to do. And I got sold a course at university in international studies or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was called. But it wasn't exactly what it was sold to me as. It was just a bunch of business subjects with a language tacked on. And I figured, well, it's easier to transfer in between departments, like internally, than it is to apply from externally.
Yeah, once you've got your foot in the door,
Yeah.
you're already there.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
don't work your way around.
So I thought, well, look, I'm just going to I'm just going to piss about at university and I'll study something that I really want to do, and that was sculpture. So I was flicking through the course guide and saw that the fine arts department offered jewellery and metalsmithing, and I figured that's kind of like sculpture, and I can see myself making a living from it. So I applied for that, got into it, did that for about a year and a half. It wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. There wasn't enough hands-on technical learning, so I dropped out and got an apprenticeship. Did that for 4 years. So that's how, just by accident, and also a little bit thinking like I don't know what the word is, maybe like vocationally, that I want to do this, but you got to make a living as a sculptor is really hard. But this is kind of the same, and it'll satisfy that need to make things.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell I was doing business studies. But I mean, funny enough, I run a small business now, but I mean, it was just so dry and just...
Yeah, I mean, I think for something like business or something like that, you've got to really want to do it. You know, you've really got to want to... I think there's a lot... It's like almost doing a law degree, isn't it? I think you've got to really want to get into it and learn the ins and outs of it, otherwise...
But, also that course was clearly geared up for a corporate world, the corporate world, where...
Not very hands-on kind
of...
of...
No, in that you would get banks and lawyers firms and big corporations will come to the university and get their next set of drones, you know, from there, and it's just it was pretty soul destroying. So. And
you said, nah, not.
Not for me. Best thing I did was dropped out of university because I wouldn't have learned the hand skills that I've got had I have continued on at university, studying jewellery and metalsmithing.
Was it just a lot more kind of like theory work then?
There was a lot. There was a lot of theory work, which is fantastic, like art history and a load of stuff to do with elements and principles of design, life drawing, that kind of thing, which is all incredibly valuable. But the actual time sat down at a bench making something with someone telling you how to do it was it was like 14 hours contact time with the lecturer, split between 12 to 16 students. Just wasted my time and money, so I dropped out. Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, like I say, I think you've got to. I think in a weird way, you kind of just. I've definitely learned it doing this. You just got to do what you want to do in it. Like even you don't want to get 5 years into it and think, you know what, I don't really want to do this anymore. You don't want to keep having to push through it. You rather just do.
Sack it off early and find your way.
Well, how was Staffordshire University? I don't think there's any heroin addicts around there, was there? Though it's not the best area of society.
Yeah, Stoke had its moments. No, it's cool. My sort of only prerequisites for university were as far away from home as possible and the cheapest beer possible. Oh, plus, as I mentioned before, we started up a university that was NCTJ approved because obviously I was studying journalism. But again, I guess I came at it in a different way. I actually didn't pick a course until the day the sort of applications were due because I just didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. I knew I liked music. I'd been writing reviews for various mags and whatnot for a while, so I just thought, I'll be a music journalist. So that was the journalism angle, and I did joint honours with English as well because I was always much better at English than maths. So when I was at university, I was pretty well placed to get to Manchester to do some internships, which were sort of absolutely necessary to get anywhere in the music industry because it's such an oversubscribed business and there's so many people who want to get in but aren't necessarily sort of serious enough to sort of get stuck in.
They're kind of on the periphery of it kind of thing.
If you want to go for it, you've got to prove it, and I did about a year and a half's worth of unpaid internships, just to even get my foot in the door, my first job.
Starting to tear up, are you?
Oh yeah.
So I've got some tissues here for me.
Oh, thank you.
Was at that time that you were studying there, that would have been the mid to late 90s, would
No,
it?
so I started 2000, finished 2003.
Okay. Manchester of has a big place in British music culture at that time.
Yes, always.
Was it quite that whole Britpop thing then?
No,
I
as I say, it was
remember.
kind of on the back. So actually,
right.
my first internship was for Twisted Nerve, the Bad John Boy's label. So when he was at the peak of his popularity, he'd just done the About a Boy soundtrack. Are you familiar with the film?
okay.
That's a
so
great album, that is.
That was huge at the time.
Yeah.
So as a fan of the label, it was a real kind of treat for me to go and get involved. So I was just like doing website design and helping with some sleeve bits and bobs here and there. And then there was lots going on in Manchester at the time. It was like you had the Zootons were pretty big, so
Okay,
Liverpool
yeah.
not being a million miles away. Bands like the Go Team, the Doves were still pretty high and flying. So yeah, from there just other internships in Manchester and then back to London. It's funny that you say about sort of going for something, because essentially I would say it took me all of 2 years to realise how rubbish music journalism is, because I'd written for various mags I won't name who failed to pay me for my efforts. So I kind of thought, right, I'll do it the other side of the coin, and went for PR. Kind of enjoyed it for a while until I realised you're just a glorified salesman, because you're just on the phone. Like the internships I did, you're just phoning up NME journalists, saying, "Hey, how you doing? Did you get it? Did you
Enemy
like
journalists.
The
They're
dark
they're
side.
all the enemy, Simon.
What's an enemy journalist?
The enemy.
New music. All right. Okay.
So then I started. Well, my first job was actually press and marketing for Cherry Red. You ever heard of them? They were the oldest independent label in the country. They brought the Dead Kennedys to the UK.
Yes, what a band.
Worked with bands like Felt, a lot of the pre-creation bands. So Alan McGee, who set up Creation, was involved in a lot of the sort of Scottish scene. But here he was in his own band called Biff Bang Pow, and they all kind of came up together. So I was there for a few years and decided just to set up my own label with a friend of mine from Manchester, Andy Votel, and that was 19 years ago now, thereabouts. So
yeah, he's probably like he's in the mixing pot with it all then, as it was all going on. Then it worked out quite well, as in time at the time around it was all happening.
I think so there was. If you were to ask me to put a percentage on it, how much of it was right time, right place, and how much of it was application, I couldn't really tell you, but I was sort of fortunate enough to fall in with.
Well, at least you could get a train to Manchester and there wouldn't be any strikes.
Well, yeah, you know what the biggest pain in the butt was? Trying to get home. So Stoke to Manchester, how far do you reckon? It's 40 minutes on the train. It used to be. So what is it in terms of miles? It's not very far.
It's not too far from Stoke to Manchester. Probably, I don't even. I wouldn't even. How far is it? We'll have to Google it.
Virgin were running the line, but it's the last train back was always 9 o'clock, 7 days a week. It's like you can get a train to Dover from London at 1 a.m.
Yeah.
Victoria. I just couldn't believe it. So you could never go out clubbing up there unless. The only good thing about Manchester
Just
is they
stay
do
out.
leave. No, they leave the stations open so you can sleep on the platform.
A few pizza boxes as a.
Yeah.
45-minute drive from the centre of Stoke to the centre of Manchester.
Well,
So
I need to know how far a walk in that case, because I certainly wasn't driving then.
yeah, you can do it in. If you left now, you could do it in 12 hours and 23 minutes.
No. So yeah, it's I came back down to London, stayed here. This beautiful modern age of telephones and internet, we were able to kind of have an office up there, and I do my thing down here. And
Don't fancy going back anytime soon.
I said, don't get me wrong, I love Manchester, absolutely. But I'm just a southern boy, all my family down here, all my friends. So, having said that, I do have an Italian girlfriend who's itching to move to Berlin. So I'm holding back the tide at the moment.
I mean, it's like I say. I mean, you think sometimes it is kind of it is good to have kind of right place, right time, but also to just. I think that can only get you so far. Can't like
Absolutely, yeah.
You've got to really want to do it, because I know you're the same. On you, without going to like too much detail, you're doing like a bit of PR on the side kind of thing, and it is like you've got to have these meetings with people, but also you've got to put yourself in the position to have these meetings with people. Like, you're not going to come and
Exactly.
drop on your doorstep, is it? You know, I mean, you don't get.
When you do get the opportunity, you just got to graft as well. Like, I've had trouble with staff previously where they've just flat out told me, I don't want to do this aspect of the job, but I'm willing to do it. And it's just, there's the door, you know. I can't have that. I run a small business, and if you want to learn from me, you got to do this. You got to do some stuff that you probably don't want to do. But I did that.
Yeah, I did it. I cleaned desks,
Yeah.
moved offices,
Yeah.
ran errands, no matter what, bought people's lunches.
Yeah, that's right. Because then, you know, like buying people's lunches, say, you hand over the ham and cheese one and whatever, and then you get chatting about it, and then that person becomes a contact.
It's got to have your eyes and ears open. And
Yeah,
contact book was huge when I was starting out. It came with me everywhere. Everyone you speak to, say like cold calling, the enemy journalists. Boom, name goes. I've got their number then, haven't I?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So they know who I am.
Just got to graft.
But the way I always approached it, as with most things I did at university, is I always looked at it as opening doors and closing doors. And if you look at sort of the transition from what are essentially different mediums, different sort of paths, if I can kind of transition from one to the other without necessarily shutting the door behind me, then I can kind of straddle all of them, sort of here, there, and
So
everywhere.
it was you that left the front door open?
It wasn't, I'm telling you. It's that ghost that uses the downstairs toilets.
Yeah, well, we've changed the code now, so hopefully the ghost won't come in. Yeah, but I've had it in like where people think that my job is all, I don't know, champagne and feather dusters or something. You get someone in to work with you, and they can't believe that you've got to actually get dirty, or
You got to literally get your hands dirty.
Yeah.
And get into it.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to use a machine, and you've got to use your arm to crank the machine, and you know, like,
Do you
what
think that's
did
like
you
an?
think
Do you think
that
that's like an
happened?
age thing? Do you think that's more effective with like people our age, or do you think it's across everybody? Because I mean, we get told, don't we, like, oh, the young people, they don't know what they're doing,
Yeah.
they don't want to work, whatever. But is it more so with, like, do you think younger generations, or can you two just see it like across the board with who you've worked with, without naming names?
No, I don't think it's like that across, because I see it where people will come in and they want something made, and they think it's going to be a couple of days, or you know, something like that. I guess because it's little, like a ring is little, isn't it? And so they think, oh, it's a little job, but without realising all the steps that I have to go through, and that, you know, you can spend half an hour filing a millimetre off something just to get it to fit right, because if you take too much off, you start again. And so no, I don't think it is, you know, young people not wanting to work or whatever. They think about work in a different way. Clearly they do, because you can just look, like you just said, oh, how far is it from Manchester to...
Yeah.
We'll jump on the, you know...
You can look it up like that and
Yeah,
find it. Pretty
yeah.
much anything you want, can't you?
Yeah.
You can find any... And the internet is very... I think especially kind of going off on a bit of a tangent, but the internet is a weird thing, isn't it, now, where it's like, when it first come out, it was like, oh my God, you can learn so much, do all this, and now there's kind of movements going, actually it's not. There's a lot more negative to the positive, but it works both ways.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like you can have it all good. You can't have it all good, but it's not all bad, is it? Like,
It's extremely useful.
Well, but I
Cat
guess
videos, that's
we
good,
look at it
isn't it?
from the other end, though, don't we? Because we spend most of our time now trying to sort of attain visibility and presence on there, so you understand the sort of machinations behind it, and it's not pretty what goes on there. Like yours is a bit more specific to sort of the music side for me, because ours is very sort of taste based. So if people want it, they'll come and find it. It's not as if like through any kind of Google advertising that I can force feed Turkish psychedelic rock down everybody's throats. It's like you've either got a palate for it or you don't. Whereas sort of with the jewellery side, it's a case of being sort of more visible over your competitors.
Yeah. So when I first started out, the Google was really in its infancy, and it was very easy for a small business like me to get out there and get noticed. You could quite easily get to the top of Google rankings, but then as soon as they monetized it, you get the big businesses just chuck a shitload of money at it.
Beep.
And you got...
This is a family-friendly podcast.
No, is it?
It's fine. It's fine.
We have got a button actually, haven't we? We've got
Is it?
ready.
There
I'll
you
put
go.
that in for you.
There you go. We've got
Too
that.
late.
You effing fool.
But yeah, like you just can't. It is really, really hard to compete against people with lots of money, and then you get like startups where they'll get investors and they'll spend loads of money, and they really don't care that because it's investors' money. All they're interested in is getting we've got this many followers, this much engagement, this many users or whatever, and they don't care that it's hemorrhaging money because they want to flog the business in 5-6 years. With
It's short-term wins, and sell it and move on to the
so
next
it's
one.
very, very tough for someone running a small business to get seen on the internet now. Really tough.
Because I mean, we've had like social media lectures, like how to use Twitter properly and things, and they go, "Oh, you should be using this language at this time of the day," or doing that. But I sit there sometimes and think, if it's going to work, surely it's going to work. You can do all the research, the market research, and everything. But I think sometimes just being constant and doing whatever your product is and just doing it.
Presence.
Yeah.
And chuck money at it, yeah.
Without, not like as much as some people are like throwing money at, but you see, like, I've sat there sometimes in social media lectures. I'm going, I can see how it works, but how far is this? How far can you keep looking at the minute details of, if you post this idea at 2 p.m. on a Friday, you get more views than posting it at 7 p.m. on a Wednesday. Like
in theory, it should work, but
don't worry about it because AI will sort that out for you.
ChatGPT will sort that out. We'll have
Yeah,
nothing
it
to
will
do
though.
with it.
That's the thing. It will.
Because what do you think about that? I've been seeing that a lot recently on like Twitter and things doing the rounds. The whole idea of like look at art, music, and stuff like that. That it, like might not like AI can just create art like that. Can get like 3D images and things like really good art very quickly. Is that kind of diluting then the work of like individuals like you two?
Yeah.
Where do you see like your career?
How
kind of
AI
going?
proof?
Have you actually been on? Have you actually had a go at this? Because I did it a couple of weeks ago. I was telling you I was getting all sort of excited about how naff it is.
Yeah.
So I think is it Millennium? What's the website that's attached to Chat GPT?
Is it
OpenAI?
OpenAI, that's the one that runs
it. Was
or
like
something.
$15 and you get 115 tokens, and
Right.
then you can sort of type in a description. It's like I don't know, a dog sort of whistling at a biscuit.
Yeah.
With a flower pot on its head or whatever, and
Okay.
then they sort of give you 4 images, and then you can either get them to sort of elaborate on one particular design, or they can go from scratch, and it keeps ticking away at you. Things. And to me, it's just a bit of fun. I don't really see any application for it other than, like, say, if you wanted a logo or you wanted, say, a still to go on your podcast on YouTube, just sort of like a copyright-free image. Or if you want your essay written, I guess.
I know people that have
So
done an essay just totally ChatGPT, just done the whole thing. They're panicked, like I've gone, I thought it was in this week and it's actually in this week, and just gone put the question in, but it's like they've allegedly got software now, unis that can detect if AI has written it. I was like, surely the next step is you kind of like, you're always going to be one step behind, aren't you? There's going to be something else that comes along, and it's kind of like, well, that's the next question. What university's going to do?
Yeah.
Like, if you can just type the question in ChatGPT and it'll just go, you say, write me a 5,000 word essay on cobalt mining in Namibia. And it'll go, and there you go.
Yeah, I had a conversation with it with some mates of mine about the implications that it has got for my industry, and they were basically saying, "Oh, but what you do for a living is, so of course it's going to be able to do what I do because it can generate images, so I could type in there blue sapphire centerstone diamond surrounding." Art Nouveau style, platinum, and put in all the metrics, and it'll generate as many images as I want, and that then I can guarantee you eventually it will get to the point where it'll generate computer-aided design software files
Yeah,
for
so
you.
you can just drag and drop
and then
it.
you can just put it in the printer and it prints out the thing, and like that's the way that it will go. And then friend said, yeah, but then the skill will be about knowing what to put into it, what your input is. I said, are you joking? You just ask the thing what is good input to get the results, and it'll tell you, and then you plug it back. Like, it's not that hard to sort of think
Yeah,
of
you're there
that,
to
is
just
it?
press the button, really.
Yeah,
and do the next thing.
But only time will tell with that, because essentially, if you go back, because Simon, I don't think we've touched on it yet, uses CAD in his designs, and I bet when CAD first came on the scene, that there was sort of a
Oh, totally. There still is a
real
backlash against
snobby
it.
about that as
Yeah.
well, because it's not the true artisanal kind of way
Yeah,
of
it
doing
still
it,
is.
not by hand.
Yeah. And I kind of agree. Like, I've got skills that I will never ever use again, ever. And that's really sad.
But do you prefer the added benefit of having tech to help you do your job, or is it more?
Yes and no. It's
Yeah.
way more efficient.
Mm.
Helps with cash flow immensely.
So you
But-
can advertise more and
Yeah.
get to the top of Google search then.
Well, that's right. So I'm off doing other stuff, running the business, So it makes the business more profitable, but it's not as satisfying as sitting there and hand making something and then going, yeah, I did that, Yeah. But if you screw it up, I screwed that up, so it's
Yeah, you
double-edged sword, isn't it? A lot of swearing happens down
Oh,
one end of the
yeah,
workshop,
yeah.
doesn't it?
You should come sit in my office sometime.
What do you think about like music though? Because have you seen where they they'll say, "Oh, write a verse in, I don't know, the tone of Jay-Z or something."
Oh, I love
have
those.
you seen those?
Yeah,
ones?
yeah, I love this. What did I see the other day? I think it was Johnny Cash doing Barbie Girl by Aqua. On
very
Reels.
lasting.
I was flicking through as
Just
sort of
kick it
words.
in. That's
Uh,
awful.
It just doesn't bother me, to be honest. I think I try to keep up with sort of contemporary music, but I don't have children, and a lot of the friends who have children are a bit too young, so following trends is a bit harder for me now that sort of everything I came up with has kind of filtered away. Like so MTV's kind of just obsolete these days, as I understand it. It's mostly Love Island kind of rip-offs and whatnot,
Yeah.
which is fine if you like that thing. And radio, again, it's sort of harder now to find, unless you. So I have quite an old car, so I don't have a digital radio in the car. So finding even Test Match Special is sort of like trying to fine tune long wave radio, which every time you go underneath a light just starts hissing. So I do my best to keep up, but I get accused a lot of being, I guess people suspect me of being snobby just because I work in music, but I'm genuinely not. I don't really care sort of what anybody else is into, or as much as like what I like. And if I can't find something, if there's nothing there immediately that I do like, I'll just go and find something that I do. Because essentially, if you think that is contemporary music, there's just a whole galaxy of music for the last 50 years. As long as you're not too fussy about where it's from, or if you sort of have an open mind, then it's brilliant. But it's weird to me if, like, when you talk about AI, copying things. It's not as if that's not rife amongst the industry anyway, because being old enough to appreciate these things now, you can kind of see the reference points in most contemporary music anyway. And even the stuff I was listening to in the 90s, like, I don't know if you're aware of bands like Stereolab and Broadcast, they were just pinching stuff piecemeal from old French psychedelic rock records, pop records, from old 60s movies that you would never see anywhere. But now, with the internet, now with Netflix and YouTube, it's only a click away. So it's
I mean, YouTube, you can find the most niche thing.
Yeah,
You can find
absolutely.
literally anything you want. Can't you?
Yeah.
It's all there.
Yeah, so if you've got the time, which I guess sort of seems to be one of the biggest problems everyone's talking about at the moment. Like, I'm guilty of it with reels. You just kind of get locked in a cycle, and God knows how the algorithm works. Although I do come across a lot of dog videos, so I guess that kind of says a lot about me.
No, I know I had to delete TikTok around about like exam season because I just thought
I've
you
never
don't
used it.
Oh, I've never used it.
No way.
Never
like
used it.
Wow.
No.
but to be fair, it's one of them things you delete it and I've never been bothered about downloading it again. You know what I mean? Because it's like, well, I don't really need. You know what I mean? It's just
I don't
literally
look at Twitter.
a way to cure
No,
boredom.
it's good you don't have Twitter now.
No, I don't
Because
look at it.
well, I've stopped using it since they introduced the tweet limit.
Oh, right.
So
didn't-
before.
What's
So
the tweet limit?
I
So,
thought they always-
so a few weeks ago, Elon Musk basically said that you're only allowed to view. I think it's. Is it?
I think it went from
300?
I think it went from 600 to like I think the internet went mad because it was like, oh yeah, he's putting a cap on. You can only see
How
600
many
tweets a
tweets
day.
you can see?
Unless you pay money.
Yeah. So if you subscribe, but still there's a limit
yeah,
on that.
There you go. Right.
So it's
Oh,
not
right.
limited if you are subscribed to his Twitter Blue or
right,
whatever it is.
okay.
So, yeah, it's a bit weird that, especially for my age, like I have everything. I have TikTok, Instagram. I don't use Snapchat, but all of those apps. But again, they don't really help. It's like TikTok. I think I spend way too much time on TikTok now. I think, and it's weird hearing that some people don't have Twitter because before that sort of limit was introduced, I think Twitter's my most used app.
TikTok. What was that other one? Snapchat. It's
Snapchat.
the same thing, isn't it?
Well, I mean,
You just take videos and
yeah,
Pretty much.
I think the thing about TikTok is that obviously it's coded so that you basically can see so much more content at like once. It's like just swiping like that. You can probably see 100, 200 videos within like, I don't know, 5-10 minutes. It's really addictive. And, the thing is that a few people I know use TikTok as well, so much that they just keep sending you like videos that's really funny or whatever. I've never opened them and they know that. And I've got like 500 unopened like messages from my friends. And it's just that some people use it way too much. And it's got to the point now where, it's replacing what we thought were traditional social media. So Facebook, Instagram, they were seen as like the main sort of social media platforms. To today's generation, I mean, I'm a part of it, but I would say like my
I
sister's
think it's
generation.
replacing interactions with your mates.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, so just
Oh,
go and play
100%.
outside, innit? Get outside. I only have to look at myself, like when I was 12, 14. It's like, oh, you're coming out today, coming outside. Yeah, and then it's like I look at something like my sister's generation now. It's like 15 now, and it's like it's just.
Yeah.
So get outside, enjoy the sun. Have a break.
Old man here.
I love
yeah.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, I say I love these conversations because I get really bent out of shape if someone doesn't say hi, Doug, at the beginning of an email, and thanks at the end. It's like, how rude.
I'm a pet hater of. I hope you're well.
Well, yeah.
As
there's
per my
room for
last
that.
email.
Yeah.
Just wanna delete it.
I hate when people message me through Facebook. It's like,
Yeah.
call me or send me a bloody text.
Or message or
yeah.
make an inquiry through Instagram.
But
Inquiry through Instagram is almost always a waste of my time.
this is the thing.
Almost always.
Because I look after Simon's social media and I look after the labels as well. And I still think they're a useful tool for independent business people.
Oh,
Because,
totally. Yeah, they are.
As I said, like, even if we only reach, say, 300-400 people, if that sort of results in 2 or 3 new customers, it costs nothing other than time. And like this podcast, if you were to sort of just keep going and going, you will sort of reach more and more people and sort of garner more and more interest.
Yeah.
And until they start putting it behind paywalls, it is a bit of a leveler, but again, those machinations have crept in. It's sort of like you have to pay for Facebook advertising to reach so much of your audience already. They lock them away, so it's just sort of trying to stay ahead of them, really.
Is it expensive to advertise, like even if on the basic level? Because obviously I don't know the
it's
ins
pretty
and outs of
cheap.
normal.
Well, you can set your own limits. Like there's, you could.
Yeah, you can kind of go up the ladder, kind of thing. And
Yeah. So
spend more if you want.
yeah, if you want to, and you can be pretty specific about who is going to see it, but what, according to their profiling or whatever. So you don't have to spend a lot of money if you don't want to, but
Did it take long to set it up, like, or was it
Advertising.
just
It
one
took-
page.
trying to get answers out of Google or whatever it was the
Oh
other day.
God, yeah, I was close to tears.
Yeah, that was
Someone
pretty
was gonna
good.
die, I was going to go postal. Because they're all bots as well.
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
They just, hi. Like, thank you for your message. Like, yeah, nice
You
one.
swear at it a lot, hoping that it picks up that you're annoyed and it puts you onto an actual person.
Yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
just again, if you, I find it quite fascinating. If you go on the back end of YouTube or Facebook, they show you all the breakdown of your audience, again, age range, and it kind of makes me chuckle from the label sort of side of things, because we're very much locked into a sort of male sort of 40s to 60 range with the finders keepers stuff, and I guess, to be honest, that's kind of job done, because these are the people sort of that grew old with us, who are the same kind of record nerds as us. And that's, of course, not to say that it's only guys who are record nerds, but I think only guys could be this pathetically nerdy, who are this needy when it comes to records. Everyone else has a bit more sense.
We'll have an away game for hockey, and and he'll go early. He'll go at least hour and a half early, because he's found a charity shop that he wants to go pick records out of, or a record shop that he wants to go to, and then he'll come to our hockey game, and he's, oh, look at this! I got this record. I got it for £5. It's awesome. Yeah, it's very funny.
Yeah, best one was Braintree away, home of Prodigy, so it's all loads of rave records. And it's funny, everyone knew them as well, and all the shops I went to, oh yeah, they used to come in here, Keith, yeah, he was a good lad.
Yeah, my cousins went to school with that lot.
And why do you think that is? I mean, the thing about physical records as well, I mean, even like DVDs, you don't really see them nowadays. It's like, what is your like sort of reasoning? What is the appeal for it? Because for me, I get all my music from Spotify, but then if you go back, like my parents got most of their music from DVD, like CDs, like Walkmans or whatever, and then my grandparents, we've got like that like massive sort of cabinet of vinyls. I'm like, well, what's the point? Like, it's all on
He'll buy
Spotify.
them.
Yeah, well, actually, we'll speak to you afterwards. No, I think it's exactly that. My parents had records, so that's where I started playing them. I wasn't allowed to play with them because I'd have had my ears boxed. But my older brother was also into records, so it's just something we grew up with, and I guess it's just that love of the sort of the tangible side of sort of the physical format sort of has remained, and I totally understand why it's not particularly relevant with kids these days, because I play cricket and hockey with guys who have never seen a record, never seen a VHS, never seen a cassette. Wow. And like, if it's not your thing, it's not your thing. Like, I'm not snobbish about where people buy their music. I listen to YouTube, I listen to Spotify. It's infinitely more practical if you're making dinner than sort of like, sort of stirring the ragu. I told you my girlfriend's Italian, and I've got to wash my hands, run into the living room to flip a record over to come back in. It's not really practical. So I understand on all ends, but
I like physical music and physical art, because it's also, it's like some kind of hedge against censorship as well. So if ever you release a something, and the government goes, we don't like that, that's unacceptable. But if you edit this out, then you know that's acceptable to us. And of course, you know, it happens and it gets released, and so that unedited one is potentially not going to be distributed or lost. But if you've got the record in your hand, or if you've got the DVD or whatever, like they're not. You've got it. It's out there. You know. So that's one thing that I like about physical.
Yeah, see,
stuff.
I've been having a clear out recently of all my DVDs, and there's a good many of them I can't actually bring myself to get rid of, because I doubt very much they'll ever be available on Netflix.
Yeah.
So this is like, I've still got VHS of some of them as well. Like I'm quite into my sort of 70s, 80s Italian sort of horrors. Like
is the tape worn out in certain sections where the bathing scene is? Is it like, it goes a bit crackly and weird?
For one of those old top loader VHS players. But again, it's I don't know. It's weird. Like I remember the mystery that used to come with records as well. Like say you used to get this piece of art, and it would only impart as much as you're willing to sort of take from it. You'd like, there was a lot more mystery between the makers and the listeners, whereas now you get to excuse me, go on Tom York's Instagram and see what he's had for breakfast, and it kind of like I don't like that proximity. I like to kind of keep it in the realms of me and them.
You don't like that he puts the beans on top of the toast, do you?
Oh yeah. Sorry, I'm struggling here.
Is that making you cry as well? Oh, I'm sorry, mate.
I'm back.
Have some water.
Do you want some more? Because again, it's like, how do you guys feel about physical formats? Like, have you ever owned a CD? Have you ever owned a record?
I mean, what I always think as well, the way I look at it, like, my mum and dad will always have like old photos in like the attic or something when I was this big, and you know, but then we spoke about it. You'll get them at the attic every couple of years or something, and you'll look at them all and go, oh, do you remember going there? Do you remember doing that? But then my sister, there's like not really anything, because it's all on your phone.
Yeah.
You don't print the my mum and dad have like, they'll actively now go out and be like, okay, we've got this many photos, we need to print them all off, so we've got them.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like you lose
all those embarrassing ones of you in the bath when you're like
that
three.
doesn't exist, actually.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
say
that's
to
got
exist.
all of his. Apparently from the other year. You.
Me.
But yeah, so that you can just do it every so often, get them out and have a look. But what you can do is scroll through your phone and scroll back a few years and go, oh yeah, do you remember that one? It's not that physical, is it?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
it's like a book, like you say, like a book collection as well. If you collect a book, you can either have them on Kindle or audiobook, but it's not like dedicating time to sit down and go, I'm reading this now, or I'm looking at these photos, or even like, okay, I'm going to dedicate an hour to now listen to this album. You dedicate more time to it. I think when you got it everywhere you want, Spotify, oh, I'm going on a run, I'll just put this new one on. You're not really, it's there, you're listening to it, you're watching it, but it's not.
The specialness has gone a little bit, maybe, I don't know.
I think it's just the advancement of the internet, really. I mean, at least for me, during COVID, like 3 years ago, it was right in the middle of like my sort of the time, like my birthday sort of period. So I thought, well, I've got COVID, I'm locked away in my room for about most of the day.
Is this story going to be safe for the radio?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or do we need
How many tapes did you? How many tapes did you wear out?
And like the only interaction I got from my family for that period of time where I was isolating was literally my sister would just give me like my food,
Pizza
knock on my door,
Under the door.
knock on my door, and then like open it up and be like, oh, thank you. So I thought, well, I'm trapped here for a few weeks. Let me try and make good use of it. I wasn't any good at A-levels back then. And I thought, well, I've got this huge box of DVDs that I've never watched. I got them from my parents, and I probably used to watch them when I was much younger. But we found this sort of slightly rusty metal box, had it 007, and I was like, oh, do you know what? Like, I love my Bond films anyway. Up until that point, I'd only watched maybe all of the Daniel Craig ones and maybe a few like Roger Moore ones whenever I was younger.
Now we're talking. So
Just because my mum's a huge Bond fanatic. But turns out this tin box, it was a commemorative thing made for Die Another Day, which was around the same time my mum went on maternity leave with me. So she bought that in the hope that she'd watch all of them, but she only watched Moonraker and I think like Octopussy, I want to say, or Spy Who Loved Me. Very good films.
One of my favourites.
Very, very good films. And I thought, do you know what? I love Casino Royale. That's my favourite film of all time. Daniel Craig, because it's...
Oh, so not the original.
No.
I went as an extra to the filming of that.
No way.
Yeah. It was hilarious. Yeah.
What?
So it was a mate of mine's friend worked for a casting agency.
Yeah.
And they needed crowd for a cricket match.
Okay.
And yeah, he's a cricketer. Oh, okay. So
Okay.
a few of us got up at stupid o'clock in the morning, drove down to Eton School, and were just crowd in this cricket match. And it was all day. It was quite warm. They fed us and watered us, and a lot of the day was just spent sitting around and not doing much and like eating, and then
Sounds like a
fall
cricket
asleep
match.
in the sun and like
Yeah, sounds like an average cricket match then, really.
but it was a funny day. A mate of ours kept trying to get into shot, and he kept getting told by the director to like get out of here, over there. Yeah,
no, honestly, it's my favorite film. But I don't know why. It's not cinematography wise. It's really not the best film. The acting isn't the best I've seen either. But I don't know. It just holds a special place in my heart. And I thought if I watched them chronologically, my perception of the whole thing might change. And back then we didn't have a DVD player. It's because the DVD player was downstairs.
Yeah.
So, and I couldn't go downstairs. I could only stay in my room. So I was like, well, and I think it was like, it was a laptop from 2008. Really old. It overheats, but the only thing that worked was the DVD player. So I thought, well, let me use that. So I was using something that's nearly as old as me, playing a DVD from a movie that's way before my time. So from Doctor No all the way to Die Another Day, watched all of them in that space of like a week, 2 weeks. And I thought,
change your perception.
Yeah,
on it?
I think I have new favourites. But Casino Royale at the top. I would say, okay, if I want to give you my top 5, be Casino Royale, On Her Majesty's Secret Service. I really love that film.
So one starts with submarines, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Spy Who Loved Me. Oh no.
Do you find though, because again, like being a bit younger than us, like I remember watching those films growing up in the sort of late 80s, early 90s, and I guess like a lot of the themes and particularly the behaviour of James Bond, particularly Roger Moore, sort of people probably wouldn't look upon very kindly in this day and age. Like without a shadow of a doubt, every film he's got some gizmo that just causes some woman's clothes to explode and fall off, like where he gets to watch.
Is that where you wore out the table?
But again, like, I'm surprised they don't necessarily get sort of brought.
Is this
up
Carry On Bond or something?
No. I forget the one where he uses the.
It's the Submariner, and he uses it to unzip the lady's dress.
It's like got magnet thing in it.
Yeah,
or something.
yeah. That's in Live and Let Die.
Or in the ski lodge, it's like, oh, something's come up, I've got to go. I think Alan Partridge spoofed it, didn't he? I bet I could beat your James Bond's claim to fame, though. You remember Will Gant?
Yeah.
A good friend of mine. He works in special effects. Did you watch Moonraker? You must have watched it as part of the chronology. That's his granddad that sits up in the coffin on the gondola.
No way.
Because his dad and his granddad both worked in special effects. So his granddad worked on 2001 Space Odyssey. His dad did Alien.
Wow. That's crazy.
And he recently told me he did... was it Baron von Munchausen? Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was one of the Monty Python crew did that.
Yeah, Eric Idle was on it, and Neverending Story.
That was directed by Gilliam, I think
it's Gilliam.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's his granddad, because apparently none of the Italian stuntmen, it's bad luck in Italy to lie in a coffin. So they just sort of got. So it's when he sort of sits up, throws a knife. Roger Moore catches it and hoys it back at him. So when you go home, get that laptop out, give it a watch.
Yeah, but no, I mean, the whole point of this was it's crazy to think, like, even, I mean, you can apply it to different things. Like, for example, gaming. You know, I don't know. I mean, I'm relatively young, so it's not been around for much of my time. But you know, if you had like the old PlayStations, you always had discs or something or cartridges to put into something.
That's subscription based.
Whereas now, I mean, 99% of the games that I play are literally, you can just download them from the store. So,
but it takes you a day.
Exactly.
To download the rest
Exactly.
Of it,
And the thing is that places like Game, you know, they've, you know, and CEX, for example, that sell these second-hand CDs, they do business. Is because people like me, you know, you can get something on for convenience reasons on like your device, never have to actually handle anything.
Yeah.
But you get it at such a cheaper price. Fine, it's been used, but it's the fact that you've got that forever. And I think and the thing is with photos as well on your phone. I recently got a new phone, and like all of my memories from when I was 15 to about now, they've all kind of gone because they weren't backed up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, the only way I can look at those photos is not via the photo, like the family photo book that we've got that got my children's photos in it. It's more, well, I have to recharge that old phone that takes 10 hours to charge anyway, and then go through them. So even, you know, stereotypically speaking, I'm kind of the one that's supposed to be embracing this. I kind of prefer physical, tangible things.
For what I do, what I get a kick out of is the idea that I will make something and it'll have my maker's mark inside. And I like to think that that's going to be in a family for hundreds of years.
Yeah, be handed down as well.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool idea. That they'll be able to look in there and they'll see SWJ.
Oh.
And
remember having to walk up that very small corridor, and then that alley.
Rung up twice to find out where the hell.
And then it breaks anyway.
But I had it where I bought a who was that wicket keeper, the little young kid?
That Blackheath?
Yeah. South African dad. He was our wicket keeper for a short period of time. Little skinny lad.
Oh, Cookie.
Yeah, Cookie. Yeah. So I bought a bunch of a bag. His dad used to be a pawnbroker. Was moving back to South Africa, and I bought a bag of broken watches off him for, I don't know, it was like 300 quid or something. But in there were some old pocket watches, and one of them was it's a silver. I've still got it, silver case, and you can look up the maker's mark of who made the case. And a friend of mine, I showed him, and he's looking at it. He's, whoa, this guy taught the guy that taught me.
No way.
Because he knew the marks. Yeah, that's pretty cool. He had a workshop just in Clerkenwell, so round the corner from my workshop. The guy that taught him, his master, I'd bought his watch secondhand from some
What are
other
the chances?
one. Yeah, it's pretty cool, and that idea is really appealing to me. That I make something of good quality with good materials, and it stays with a family for a long period of time, and I'm always in there. That's a nice thought. Yeah.
And how long does it usually take to make? Let's just say hypothetically, I wanted a ring.
Yeah.
How long would it take, depending on the materials?
If you're the typical bloke,
yeah,
I was gonna
you're
say,
going on
when
holiday.
a bloke walks in,
You're going on
and
holiday in
buys
about 2 weeks, and you want something really complicated made.
yeah.
That's the way it usually goes. No, oh yeah. I like to give myself 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay.
That allows for me to do some design work and for the customer to consider it and maybe get some opinions and make some changes, and then print up some mock-up plastic models. They can come in and have a look, and then I'll make it. Yeah. So about that, and that allows for stuff to go wrong. Like sometimes parts of the process will fail, and you got to start again. And I use 3D printers, and sometimes I just want to chuck them out the window because it's not like your car where it's running a bit rough, needs a service. You can get to the shop and back, no problem. These things, they either produce crap or they don't work at all. Like they've got to, yeah.
Good business model there, then.
Oh, mate, they're so annoying. Yeah.
I should ask him about some of the design flaws.
Yeah, like you're trying to get to a screw and you can't even get your hand. Yeah. They must use like 5-year-old kids or something to put them together because their hands are small. Yeah.
But again, what is it that, like, what I'm trying to say is that when you do make one of those rings and you hand it over to them, what is that feeling that you have? Is it of like happiness that you've kind of like done that project, or do you still keep in contact with your clients, or?
Yeah, you still keep in contact with them, because sometimes it doesn't last forever, so they'll need claws, putting extra metal on top of the claws because they wear away and stuff like that, and they will recommend you to other people and let you know that they've recommended someone and stuff like that. So yeah, it's really nice keeping into contact with people, and you sometimes remember stuff about other people and what they do or what they're interested in, and it's happened before where I've just thought, oh yeah, that guy is in that industry, and and you put people into contact with each other and things like that. So that's really nice, but it's just that you get to see a project from start to finish, handing it over and them going, oh wow, it looks great and I love it, it's really satisfying. Really satisfying. Yeah.
And I know you're probably not at liberty to tell us, but what's like the craziest request you've had? Is it like really out there, or?
So the craziest request is probably being asked to make a ring that had some bone in it from a guy's amputated leg.
What?
Yeah. It was an engagement ring, yeah.
Did you do it, or?
Yeah.
Did you have the whole leg?
No, I wish. I wish, because it could have been some good photo opportunities. No, it was just like a little bit of the femur, like, I don't know, 5 inches worth of bone, yeah.
And how did you I'm assuming you made it...
No, it was just like two little triangle pieces cut from the bone and put either side of a diamond, yeah.
Yeah, what's yours made out of? Diamond. I want yours. Oh, femur.
Yeah. I told the guy, a mate of mine who cut the bone, I told him that it was deer antler, just because he would be grossed out. He probably wouldn't have done it. So.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I told him afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah, he said, I wondered why it smelt disgusting. But that's probably the craziest thing. Yeah.
Have you? I've only come across that recently. Have you seen those lab-grown diamonds?
Yeah.
Have you dabbled much in them, or?
Yeah.
Can you? Because it goes around. I've seen it on the internet. It's like you can't tell the difference. It's exactly the same. Is it exactly the same?
Yeah. It's carbon in. It's diamond. Yeah. It's just made in a laboratory.
Cause I don't know whether you've seen videos, but I've seen videos where it's just like a plate, isn't it? They put a plate in, like basically just like a furnace, isn't it? And they just heat it and they grow.
Yeah, a couple of ways of doing it. Yeah, and you're probably looking. I think it's called chemical deposition, where they'll drop carbon atoms through methane that's been heated and charged, or whatever. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. Yeah.
But do you get many like? Do most people rather that you work with still stick to kind of like traditional in inverted commas diamonds, or have you had many requests for like the new?
Loads of requests for lab grown.
Because I know it's a lot cheaper, isn't it?
They're loads cheaper. Yeah, they're loads cheaper. And a lot of people like it that tons and tons of earth hasn't had to have been moved to get to them. A lot of people say that they're more ethical than mine diamonds, but there's a whole lot of arguments against that as well.
But even that's like a weird thing, isn't it? Because you say, oh yeah, yes, it is more ethical, but then they probably reached out to you on a phone that's full of cobalt that's come out of a mine in
exactly,
like Africa or whatever, where it's like just child labour constantly.
And there's a good chance that the
system in it.
Lab-grown diamond was grown in China, who have got wonderful human rights record, and then it's cut in India, where what's going on in India now with that crazy Modi guy and Muslim and Hindu opposition and
the crazy government.
Then they might have passed through Israel, and they've got a wonderful human rights record with the Palestinians, haven't they? So
the best mates, aren't they?
Yeah.
Really?
So it's all this. I just don't get involved in the ethical side of things, because to me it's
You can't really, but then it's like not removing yourself from the situation. But what can we do?
Mm.
You know, we can't.
you
go,
can just
I'm
try
only
and do
doing
your
this."
best.
Yeah,
You can just try and do your best, and that's what I do, and try and do my best with making sure that the materials that I use are as friendly to the environment and to humanity as I possibly can. But it does annoy me when someone who doesn't really have any idea gets on their high horse about things and starts quoting ethicalness at me in my workshop. I've had that before, and or oh yeah, I want a sapphire because it's ethical. Do you know about child labour and
Yeah, where should we begin?
yeah, stuff like that. So that whole there are jewellers that call themselves ethical jewellers, and good luck to you, but they're just monetising a buzzword. As far as I'm concerned, they'll probably have a different opinion of it. Yeah, just try and do your best, and just try and do your best by the customer. Be as honest as you can. Yeah.
Do you think it will eventually get to a point where it's like most use is just lab grown? Because I know obviously it's not. Do you think it will kind of offset the percentage of between lab grown and mine? Do you think it will?
I don't know. It's really difficult to predict that kind of thing. They are so cheap. Like 90% cheaper than a mine diamond. And I think that can only go on for so long. Market's flooded with them at the moment. The demand's there, sure, but there's just an oversupply, and that's I don't know. Can't really answer. But some people do have a romantic attachment to the idea of a diamond that has been mined or
And the age
found
of it.
alluvial, like out of a river or whatever. So there is an attraction there to people.
And
yeah.
it's millions of years old.
Yeah, that's
Come
right,
at the
yeah.
centre of the earth. It's a bit
Yeah.
more rather than it's grown in a lab. And there you
Yeah,
go.
that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, and I guess the argument there is also similar to the arguments that I sometimes face in the industry against the use of computer-aided design and computer-aided manufacture, in that you have people that are in the industry who have really vocal, passionate opinions on it. Customers don't give a shit. They really, they just want something that looks nice and for a fair price. And so I think a lot of the ag that you hear is from the industry, probably. Yeah.
And if you can provide a good service, that's what you're there to do at the
Yeah.
end of the day, innit?
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, it kills my sales, lab diamonds, because you can. Most people have an idea of a meaningful amount of money that they want to spend on an engagement ring, but often, if you do spend that meaningful amount of money, you've got something that is ridiculously big, and that's not attractive to a lot of people. So they want something smaller, and suddenly the price is halved, less than half of what they were thinking of spending, and they're still getting the thing that they like. So don't get me wrong, it's killing me, but
You've got to weigh it.
yeah.
Weigh it up. Yeah.
So I sell more sapphires and emeralds and rubies. Yeah.
And then you can. Then you just have to start advertising more on Google, then, won't you?
Yeah. Just open up a vein and lead it into the algorithm, and yeah.
And we'll all be millionaires.
Exactly.
With Google
Yeah,
advertising. But
Yeah.
I mean, what? We've done an hour and 10 minutes.
Is there anything? So we come to the end. What's next for you guys? Essentially, is there anything you guys are currently working on that you guys would like to talk about?
Trying to get
what
this.
am I doing? Oh, I've got the new label. I should be launching September.
Name it. Can you name it?
Yeah.
I think I already did, didn't I? Fundamental Frequencies.
Okay.
.co.uk. Google us. We'll be at the top.
Look at your TikTok. You got TikTok.
No, I don't do TikTok. nor
Instagram?
I don't do claptrap either, whatever that
Claptrap.
is. No, it might be on Instagram. No, that's coming. Quite looking forward to that. Talking to some spaced out, crazy old sort of 90s techno heads, which is kind of been quite a nice parallel to sort of all the sort of 60s, 70s musicians I've been working with, and something that's quite close to my heart as well, because sort of jungle, sort of drum and bass, ambient techno acid was. I was young enough to kind of catch the tail end of it in the sort of mid 90s. Never went to any of the parties, sadly, but I bought a lot of the records. But otherwise, yeah, just business as usual with Finders Keepers. Currently working on a lot of Polish avant-garde movie soundtracks, some very obscure American free jazz. So
Have you thought about like doing something like this, doing like a podcast to go alongside it?
we
like,
already have.
Oh.
No, we used to have a radio show.
The Christmas ones.
No, we used to do one a month.
Oh, right.
The Finders Keepers Radio Roadshow. We used to do it with a chap named Peter Mitchell, who sadly died not long after lockdown. He had a heart attack. He used to be the morning man on Virgin Radio in the early 90s. And there's a fantastic tribute to him on Virgin Radio that Chris Evans did for him, came out during COVID, with possibly one of the funniest moments of radio I ever heard in my life. They used to have a segment called Mummy Am I Ugly? And listeners used to send in photos and they'd get scored in the morning. You got to hear it. It just makes me cry with laughter every time. But yeah, possibly some parties coming up as well. I would say the best bet is to go over to finderskeepers.com, sign up to the mailing list, find us on Facebook.
Where's your next DJ
Instagram.
gig?
I haven't got
You
one
haven't got anything
presently.
booked in?
No, nothing booked in.
Does a lot in Europe, a lot of DJ gigs.
Wow, okay.
Like, little festivals.
Spent more time in Hamburg than the Beatles.
Yeah.
No, it's I've kind of enjoyed the tranquility on the back of.
No more meeting chicken farmers in obscure
Yeah,
Danish.
that was a good night.
part.
That.
Yeah, it was a good night.
Sounds, whatever the story is, sounds like a good night.
we went to Copenhagen. No, we went to Aalborg or Aarhus in the north of
Aarhus?
Denmark. Yeah.
Aarhus is
It's got 2 A's in it and it's north. I don't know.
yeah.
You'll find it.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we might get some more in there. There's still a few festivals coming up that maybe I'll get involved in, but yeah, that's about it really. Just we're already, again, sort of my time schedule's kind of like Simon's. I'm already planning next year, so it's kind of hard balancing the here and now with what you're doing then. So just have to wait and see.
Of course.
Cup of tea?
Yeah, that cup of tea sounds all right. We're trying to get this stupid web store up and going, but I've just got very little enthusiasm for it. I can't. I want to do it, but I've kind of dragging my heels a bit just because I just want to make stuff. You know,
Yeah, fair enough.
I just want to make stuff, but getting a little web store up there is just an experiment. And Doug's been hounding me for weeks now to pull my finger out and do some work that he wants me to do. But do you know what I do want to do is plan a cricket tour to
Holland.
no, not to Holland,
Excuse me.
to Barcelona, where Max is playing in Barcelona.
We could do a sort of a workshop tour. You could take some work with you and I'll take some records.
This crazy German bloke who's a cricketer who came over here and played with us, and we've just kept in contact, and now he lives in Barcelona playing in Spain, and he said come over play some cricket. So I think that's what
We did Munich a couple of years, but prior to COVID.
Yeah, that was messy.
Yeah, it was good.
Is there a big cricket
was
fan
very
base in
nice.
Barcelona?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Who
You'll
cares?
find out. You'll have to come back and let us know.
We found some in Bavaria. So,
Yeah, in Bavaria there certainly was. Amsterdam as well.
Yeah.
That was a legendary cricket tour.
Oh, nice view of the flowers, did you, when you was there in Amsterdam?
From the bottom of the flower bed, yeah. But yeah, no, no real sort of big plans for the business or anything like that. It's really hard when you're doing commission pieces. You're working in like 6 week, 8 week time frames. Hardly ever do you get to sort of cast your eye further ahead and think, I'm going to plan. This is what I talk to. Sometimes I chat to jewellery students from the local jewellery college about what I do, and it's different if you're working for a company or even if you're working for yourself, and you're designing a range that will then get put into shops and sold. You have time to refine your ideas and to make it. Oh, that doesn't quite work. Alter it, refining. For what I do, which is you've got a short period of time to produce something perfect. It's got its own set of difficulties where I can't. If I screw it up, then I'm against it time-wise, so it's very hard. What I'm saying is it's very hard for me to think, what am I going to do in 6 months? I'm not looking at, 6 months. So in 6 months it'll be this season, and these are the current trends of colours and whatever fashion bullshit is happening. I'm gonna try and beep it. I'm gonna, I just haven't got the headspace to do that. It's really difficult. And when you. I'm in charge of the production, and it's me doing all sorts of.
But I would say there's a great deal of charm in that, to be honest, because I think working to tighter deadlines and with a higher turnover of interesting and wonderful projects kind of keeps you grounded. Because you get say with me, I start off the back of COVID when nobody could tour. Everybody started pressing records, and there was a huge rush on the plant. So what was essentially a 6 week process turned into a 6 month process. And from start to finish, that's an awfully long time to realise what you've done. And quite it's a sort of a creative limbo in between, because it's not just a case of constantly creating. You have to sort of space these things out. And the life of a record is sort of a bit more complicated than a piece of jewellery. So once you've sort of started it, finished it, you're onto something else. It's like you've got that gratification, that satisfaction.
You've got to sell it still.
Well, no, but that's I like that side. I like the preamble, like the getting it made, and I like the fact it has a life after it's been produced, because producing it is just as involved.
We got to do your dinks.
We're on the case.
That's the beeper. I said ding.
No, it was just the hand gesture you gave me that got me excited. We're going to, in fact, there's something we can announce. There is going to be, this is world exclusive.
World exclusive.
Okay.
Drum roll,
Yeah,
please.
very excited.
We are going to have a Finders Keepers Simon Wright Jewellery collaborative 7-inch centre. So did you
probably don't know what
do you
it
know?
is.
So when you used to have jukeboxes, you get the 7-inch.
Back in the old days,
When I was a lad.
You either have them with the small holes or the big holes. So they were for jukeboxes. So they're called jukebox 45. So they were pressed deliberately like that, and you would have to put either a spider
like
in
a
there.
converter.
So we're going. Simon's designed.
I did some for your 30th birthday. Yeah.
I'm only 32, Simon. It was a long so he's designed it, and we're going to put out a limited range. So if you want to send a check in a stamped envelope,
We'll come and hand
the
deliver
postman
it
will
to you.
find us because nobody else can.
Anyway, so thank you for that, lads. We've done, an hour and 20 minutes. So
I hope it wasn't boring.
No, that went.
No,
to be
it's
fair,
fantastic.
I didn't think it went that.
Yeah.
I don't think it went that.
It's not
quick.
LSD UFOs by any
That
means.
water's not kicking in yet.
No,
either.
that's
We're gonna
next
make it
week.
home.
But yeah, thank you for coming on. I know I like completely random, interaction
exactly.
and everything else. But yeah, thank you for that, lads. And
Cheers, thank you.
I hope we'll put your social medias and everything if we want into kind of the description and things. So if anybody wants to buy a new engagement ring, whether that's real diamond or lab grown or
human leg.
Yeah, human leg. Want to put a bit of your nose in there, maybe? We can do it all. But yeah.
No jokes, please, Simon.
Yeah.
But yeah. So thank you for that, and we'll see you later.